Hi, this is Alex from PHP Academy, and in this video we are going to be creating a script that will read an RSS feed and then display some of the output. So essentially what we're going to be creating is an RSS feeder, and we're going to be using simple XML, which should come bundled with most PHP installations. If you're using a package like XAMPP, then you should have this ready to go. If you don't, then you can go ahead, Google for it and see if you can install it. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. I've already got the RSS feed up at the moment, or the XML feed. Essentially what we're doing is reading XML. I've got the feed up. Looks quite complicated, but really if you think about it in a logical way, we've just got these sections, if you like, that we're going to be reading from, and we just need to traverse through and pick up the data here. So the feed that I'm using is a PHP.net feed. You can go over to PHP.net and you can grab this feed. I can't remember where the link is, but here we go. If you end up with this, then you can follow along and use this in the tutorial. The URL is quite short though. Okay, so what are we doing? Well, we're going to loop through and we're going to display all of the results here. Now, we need to first of all take a look at the feed to determine which items or what we need to loop through and what we need to display. So in this case, I'm just going to be displaying the title and the URL of the link. Now, let's just have a look down here and let's see, we need to spot some kind of common pattern. And I've already spotted its entry. So we've got an entry just here, we've got an entry here, an entry here. So we need to sort of loop over all of these entries and then display this data out. Just a tip for the tutorial, if you want to, try and push yourself, you might want to try and follow along the tutorial but read a feed that you found that isn't this feed. That might help you pick up this concept. Okay, so we've got the feed, we've determined the common pattern. We need to look inside of entry and we need to grab the title. We also need to grab the URL that links through, and this looks like it is, let's see, oh yeah, here, ID. So we need to pick this up here. So relatively straightforward, we just need title and ID. We're going to loop through and we're going to pick up these from each of the records and display them out in a list. So a simple read of a feed. Okay, so I've got a file reader.php open. I've got this open in my text editor with nothing in. We're going to start from the start of this. I'm not going to be creating it as a function. I'm going to be going ahead and creating it just very verbosely, so it's listed down the page, but I do recommend you go ahead and turn this into a function. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to create my PHP tags. Don't really need the ending one because we're just going to be oh no, we're not going to be just using PHP, we're going to be doing this inside a list. Anyway, so I'm going to create a variable and this is going to hold the URL of the feed, and let's go ahead and do that. So feed URL equals. Okay, so this is going to essentially just be the URL that we want to read from. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this and paste that in there. Okay, so now that we've got the feed URL, we need to actually load this file using simple XML. If you don't know much about simple XML, you can go over to php.net itself and just search for simple XML functions and read about what they do, the syntax, general information. So I'm going to create another variable called feed, and I'm going to make this equal to the function, and then we're going to load something inside of it. So the function is simple XML underscore load underscore file, and then we need to specify a file that we want to load in, and this is going to be feed URL. Now all simple XML is allowing us to do is read in the content of an XML document. So it's not doing anything special here, it's just pulling in, it is doing something special, but it's pulling in this, this data, and it's allowing us to use it in a really easy way and sort of traverse through and grab nodes and things like that in a really, really easy way. So, that's all that this is actually doing. I'm just going to pull that over. Okay, so what do we want to do? I'm going to set a limit to this, and then I'm going to set a counter. So the limit's just going to be how many results we want to pull in, and we can, we can choose how many results we store or pull in. Sorry. So I'm going to say limit equals 5, and then I'm going to say x equals 1. This is where it starts to get quite verbose. It's in a function you'd expect to take this in as a parameter. So have a go at turning this into a function at some point. Okay, so now we're going to use a for each construct. So we're going to say for each, and our curly braces there. And what this is going to do is it's going to loop through every entry. So we need to find a way to say for every one of these entries here, we want to loop through, and then we want to compare it against x, add 1 to x, blah, blah, blah. So the main thing is that we want to loop through this. So I'm going to say feed, remember our XML loaded file, or simple XML loaded file. I'm going to say hyphen greater than sign, and this is just basically saying accessing part of entry. We're getting into sort of an object here now. This will create an object. In fact, probably a good thing to do here would be to I'll just kill this script here, and then I'll say print r feed. Now if I go ahead and refresh, we've got an error here, so let's check out line 11. Okay, that's because we need to get rid of that. That'll do. Okay, so let's refresh, and you can see now it has printed out the interpreter, or the way that simple XML load file has interpreted this document, and you can see that we've got arrays and we've got an object here. So let's go ahead and just echo this out and make it display a bit better. So I'm going to basically just place pre-tags around it, and this is just going to format it in a lot easier way. We're also going to give a second option, or an argument, to print r, and this is just going to allow us to look at it like this. So this is essentially what has been taken from this feed. Like I said, it did nothing special. It actually does. It creates a simple XML object, and inside of it we have all these properties, if you like, with values like this. So we can easily loop through each one of these entries here and then grab these bits in between, so title and ID. So for every one of these entries, which there are a few, if we scroll down we'll see another one. There's quite a lot of data here. Yeah, this will be an entry as well, blah blah blah. We want to display them out. So that's just sort of a a good way to look at it. But what we want to do is we want to say for each feed, which we've just seen graphically, or represented in a different way. So for every one of them entries as an item, we now use item to access each of the entries inside of here, so we can use item within this loop. We want to go ahead and do stuff with this. So I'm going to define or create two variables, and I'm going to assign the title to this, and then we're going to create one for the URL. So remember that the item, we were accessing this title node within, and then we have URL, which was accessing what was it? It was this ID node. So now for every entry we have the title and the ID. You can't see anything because we're not doing anything with the data. But let's go ahead and just place some an unordered list around this. We can either go ahead and echo out UL and then close it, or we can escape. So I'm just going to escape back in, and a UL there, and I'll do the same outside of here as well, and I'll just indent this for readability. So now I'm going to go ahead and echo li, and in between this I'm going to place some information. So inside of here I'm going to say a, and I'm going to turn this into a link. So inside here will be the URL, inside here will be the title. So we just have to essentially replace this with the variables that we've defined here. So in here would be URL. Okay, so let's go ahead and refresh and see what the result of this is. Now you can see that we've got a list now of all of the all of the titles from this file, and then when we click on them we go through to the relevant article. Now we do have a limit here, and we have a counter here which we're going to take advantage of now. So all we're going to do is we're going to say if, and we're going to surround this entire displaying of data within a block, and we're going to say if x is less than or equal to limit. So if x is under the limit, then go ahead and display this, and then just outside of here we're going to say x plus plus, or we could say x equals x plus 1 plus 1. Same thing, we'll just say x plus plus. Okay, so for every loop we're going to increment x, and then we're going to make a check here. So let's go ahead and refresh, and you see that we've only got 5 results. We can go ahead and increase this limit, so we could say 7 and refresh, and we'd have 7 appear. Now obviously, as I said at the start of the tutorial, there are problems with this. If it was for an include file, it wouldn't necessarily matter as much, but it'd be much better to turn this into a function. So we've created the functionality here, everything works. I'm actually going to go ahead and do a second part of the tutorial and turn this into a function. So if you're satisfied with this and you can go ahead and use this, and you've practiced using it with your own feeds, that's great. If you want to watch the second part, we'll be looking at turning it into a function and make it a bit more easier to use elsewhere.